Hello once more. Welcome back to the ECOstruder with me, Brandon Hart, the ECOstruder. And this time we are finishing up the three-part, 1 year kind of re-review of the Modix Big60 V2 large format 3D printer. The first part, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch that first. First part was all about the modifications that I've made to the Big60 V2 since I've had it. The second one is about modifications that I did not make, things I wish it would have kind of come with from the beginning, improvements I think that could be made to the machine to make it sort of what I would like it to be. This time though, we're gonna wrap it all up with the part you're probably all waiting for, honestly, and that is the actual review of the Modix Big60 V2 3D printer. Would it be a good fit for you? Does it make sense? Those types of things. Hey, it's me again, just popping in real quick. I keep forgetting to put these disclaimers at the beginning of the videos, but I do want to point out that I am in fact a Modix 3D reseller, so take that for what you will. I try to keep these reviews and the information I'm talking about here pretty open and honest, but take into account that I do in fact sell these machines. So with that, back to the video. So I don't want to delay too much longer, but I do have to point out at the beginning of the video here, the Modix Big60 version 3 is coming soon. Yeah, that's right. It's going to be out and released and in the wild here before too long. I've actually already purchased a Modix 120X version 3 for myself. And I've had some customers purchase one of the version 3 120Xs through me as well. So there will be more than just Big60s and 120Xs, but more on that in the future. I'll leave you hanging a little bit. But yeah, for now, let's get to the Modix Big60 V2 full review after more than a year of using the machine. Past Brandon, what do you think about it? Take it away. Let's do a review of this thing in after 1 year. So you have to start off right away talking about the print quality, and the print quality is quite good, really good actually. And it's hard to understate how important that is. It's great to have a big machine, but if the big machine itself doesn't actually produce parts that are useful or good enough quality, it's not going to be worth anything. The one thing to bear in mind is a lot of people want to use this machine, and when they print something out, they print out a Benchy or something like that, they want it to look just as good as they would do on a more prosumer or similar type of industrial desktop machine. Those desktop machines are using smaller nozzles, smaller hot ends. They're using E3D V6s or similar types of hot ends, which have a very, very short melt zone and are meant for slower, smaller, more high precision types of prints. This thing comes stock with an E3D Volcano. By its name, it's telling you that it's meant for high volume, high throughput, in other words, large parts to be printed. It's not meant to create the greatest little figurines you've ever seen. So taking into account what it's really designed for, it's designed to print big things. It's called the Big60. Or the 120X, same thing. All of this stuff applies to the 120X as well, because it's the motion system, everything is the same on a 120X. It's just basically two beds next to each other. So knowing that it is a high volume, large, volume printer, that's really, I think, the big thing that people need to keep in mind when it comes to the print quality. You're not gonna get the level of detail that you get on a desktop machine, but you will be able to print very large things and they will look very nice when you do. So there's that. That's why I went, so this is, quite frankly, it's a hot mess. But this Benchy is about 9 kilograms of PLA, various different, quite frankly, junk PLA that I had laying around the shop and just wanted to use up. So I printed this benchy using the E3D Super Volcano, and it had a 1.4 millimeter nozzle, and these are 1 millimeter layer heights. Print speed was roughly, and it changed a little bit throughout the course of the print, but it was roughly 100 millimeters per second. So if you do the math, 1.4 millimeter diameter nozzle, 1 millimeter layer height, running at 100 millimeters per second means that this thing was just slurping PLA. It was coming out of this thing so fast. Total run time, though, I think was right around about a day and a half for a 9 kilogram giant 3D benchy. This thing is ridiculous. And if I had printed it with consistent high quality material, it would probably look a lot better than this, even at those crazy ridiculous speeds. But you know, this machine was able to fully keep up with it and make it happen. I do have to make a note, if you've seen just how bad this is, the smokestack here, the chimney, again, it was printing so fast and the material had to be printed so hot that it couldn't cool as it was printing that chimney. And so this whole chimney was basically like a goopy, sloppy mess as it was trying to print the thing. And so that's why it looks really awful, more awful than the rest of the benchy. But the fact that it was able to print this, I think is pretty phenomenal, and able to print it as fast as it could was also pretty great. So just an example for you. This is an example of the print quality in base mode. So this was using a 0.6 millimeter standard Volcano nozzle. And you know, it's just a scaled up version of the, it's a Christmas tree. I'll put the Thingiverse listing below so you can see that too. But it just looks really, really nice. This was printed in Proto Pasta glitter flake. I think there are some other words in there. Material, they're HDPLA. Really, really nice stuff. So, you know, the machine does a great job. It's the bottom line. The filament detection sensor that I got with this machine was not very good. Sometimes the filament would run out and it couldn't tell. Other times it would not have run out, but it would think that it had run out. Basically, there's just a little switch in there, and the switch just wasn't positioned quite properly, and the way it was set up, it was never going to be very reliable. Again, they've fixed that in the newer versions of the V2 Big60s, so any machines that have gone out in the past many months will come with a much better filament detection sensor. Overall reliability of the machine is quite good. Really, the main issues I've had with this machine are related to all the modifications I did to it, which you've already heard about. So, you know, the fact that the bed level would change from time to time. I've got a flex plate in here, and the flex plate goes from PEI to Garolite, various thicknesses. So the unified bed leveling process that I did at the beginning to configure the different parts of the bed, the varying thicknesses and heights of the bed really don't apply at all, because I keep changing the surface of the bed. But even with all of that, it still just keeps right on running. And even with changing the surface of the bed remains completely flat. I really cannot complain at all about the bed. And a lot of people ask about the bed because it is so big, and there's some variability, of course, across any bed. But these are quite thick, milled Mic 6 aluminum plates. So they are very flat when you get them. And once you get everything dialed in and you get your bed leveled and all four corners are the right height, it stays that way. They don't move, they don't drift. It's really quite good. One of the reasons I like this machine a lot is because of how easy it is to modify. You know, everything, the frame itself is just made up of these aluminum extrusions, these 40/40 extrusions, so you can get T-nuts and you can add things to it if you want to. the whole system is very, very modular in how it's put together. The hot end, the tool head, is all just standard E3D hardware, so you can swap out the E3D stuff like I said I did. So that's pretty easy to do. You can run new wiring through the existing cable chains and run into the control board. Again, I tied into some I/O that was on the board. It was very easy to do. So overall, I love how easily modifiable it is. Now, there are some caveats to that. The fact that all of the plates and everything here are all sheet metal. They're aluminum plates. That means that it's a lot harder to just get the step file or the STL for the parts that were printed to hold this stuff together and then modify it, because those don't exist. So because everything is metal, you kind of have to make new interface boards or make new metal plates if you want to change up the mounting system, stuff like that. But I don't consider that to be a real problem. It would be a problem if I was going to add another ball screw and make this 4 on each corner, but that's a bigger project anyway. So I really got to give it a modability score of I don't know. iFixit is like 0 to 10, I think. It's got to be an 8 or a 9. I mean, it's very good for that. Let's see. The support. Yeah. So Modix is a company out of Tel Aviv, Israel. And so you're always going to have some, not really language barrier problems so much. They're all very good at speaking and writing in English. But there are definitely some challenges when it comes to time zones and turnaround time. They're very quick and they tend to be very helpful on their responses. And your results may vary. I have a relationship with Modix, and so I may get a little bit better support than the average customer. I don't know. But they tend to be very, very helpful, very responsive. But it does take a little bit of time. If you have to go back and forth a few times, they are in Tel Aviv, and so that can add a little bit of time to the delay. I suppose here is where I should point out that I am going to be a Modix reseller, so you should take all of my reviews and all of my thoughts into account, because you can actually buy Modix machines from me, from Heartsmart products. Link in the description. But that's just something to bear in mind. If you did buy a machine through Heartsmart products, your support would be through Heartsmart products. But some of that still has to go back to Tel Aviv. So if we need warranty replacement parts or things like that, some of that still has to go back through Tel Aviv. And so some of those delays do happen. Overall though, support has been very good for such a small company out of Tel Aviv. Let's see, I mentioned the inductive sensor problems that I had. Generally, everything was pretty much fixed when I went to a BL Touch. So BL Touches are all they ship with now. I think there's an inductive sensor that comes with some of them, but everything is already wired for a BL Touch. So that is the default. So that's pretty much been fixed as far as a problem. One thing that hasn't been addressed that I don't love is this drag chain here. The way in which, as the machine is, maybe doing some of the infill where it kind of, the tool head is moving back and forth, the nozzle is filling in some of these areas. The chain, is sitting here and it just wiggles as it's doing that. And it hasn't been a big problem, but when I look at it and I see that drag chain just kind of wiggling, it seems to me like that's gotta have an effect on the nozzle and maybe some ringing, some echoes, things like that. Again, generally hasn't really been a big problem, but it is something that I have noticed, and something that, I don't know, maybe if your machine isn't built and everything tightened fully down, that could cause some, I don't know, maybe it could cause some problems. It hasn't really been an issue on mine, but it is something I don't really care for that much. Those are kind of the big things I wanted to cover in terms of how I like the machine, how it's performed. Overall, I love my Big60, probably, you know, well, definitely more than any other printer that I've got. It has performed extremely well. I've done a lot of prints with all sorts of different materials, from PLA, I mentioned the nylons already, PETG. I've done a lot of flexible materials through here. Probably more than anything, I've done Ninja Tech Cheetah on this machine. It does require that you add in some little extra pieces on the Titan to constrain the filament a little bit more. But once you do that, everything works perfectly. Let's see, all sorts of metal fill, wood fill, carbon fiber, ABS, PETG, lots of biodegradable materials and compostable materials. Yeah, I mean, you name it, I've run it through here. Polypropylene, I ran that through here. So just all across the board, lots of different stuff has gone through this machine, and it handles everything beautifully. So, overall, would I recommend a Big60 V2? Again, I'm selling them, so yeah, I do, but I don't recommend it for every user. So this is something I want to make sure that we're clear on. This is a machine that does require somebody who knows what they're doing, not just to put it together, but to actually be able to run the thing. So if you are new to 3D printing, please don't run out and buy a Big60 or a 120X right away. Get yourself a Prusa Mini or even an Ender 3 or something like that. Start with one of those types of desktop machines, a less expensive machine, and learn 3D printing. Because any of those normal issues you have with, you know, build plate adhesion or clogging your nozzle or, you know, layer shifting, any of that stuff, all of that gets exponentially more complicated when you get exponentially bigger build volume like this. So this is not for first-time users. It's really meant for people and companies who need a larger build volume, want a reliable machine that you know, basically just works once you get it assembled. But yeah, you do need to be relatively technical to work with the machine, so that you can troubleshoot issues, because again, small issues that aren't really problems on smaller machines become serious problems that really do need to be troubleshot on a bigger machine like this, and that can get a little bit frustrating for new users. But overall, if you understand 3D printing, if you're technically minded, especially if you like modifying your machine like I do, this is a clear winner, especially for the price. The price is ridiculous. I didn't even mention that yet. But these are very, very affordable, large format 3D printers. Okay, so that is my re-review, my annual, you know, 1 year living with it review of the Big60 V2. I should throw out a note that Big60 V3s are coming, as are 120X V3s and a few other machines from Modix. So if you would like some information about that, you can hit up Google. You can shoot me an email with any comments about this or questions about those upcoming things to ECOstruder@heartsmartproducts.com. It's probably somewhere down here. Check out the website, heartsmartproducts.com. Leave your thoughts below, any comments, any questions in the comments. I love hearing all of the feedback and questions and interest and curiosity and everything from people that are watching these videos. So please don't stop with any of that. But until next time, this has been the ECOstruder, and I sure do love talking to you guys, and I hope you all have a wonderful 2020. I'll see you in the next video next year, basically. See you then.